News and talk around the clock. News Talk 89 WLS.
News Talk 89 WLS. Ski and Skinner, good afternoon. The sun's out. Life is good. Can you imagine what's going through John Glenn's mind right now? He goes up into space. He's gone 9 days. We have an election. We come back, and we find out that Bill's still president, and Newt resigned. It's like, what the heck? He's got to be shaking his head going, there weren't that many changes in the American government when I went up for the first time for 18 hours. That's the last time I leave for 9 days. Wow. It's been an eventful 48 hours, eventful few days since the election. And Nancy, you and I have been trying to take it all in as best we can. And are you speechless? I'm numb.
Ski?
I mean, I never expected this.
Ski, today I am announcing my candidacy for the Speaker of the House of Representatives. No, that is
well,
true.
Congratulations.
No, that's interesting. They did say that you don't have to be a member of Congress to run for Speaker of the House. But yes, I am shocked. Actually, you know, here's me how mushy I am. I felt bad for Newt Gingrich. I was watching him last night as he exited his office in Georgia with his wife, Marianne, and I felt really bad for him. I was watching him, and I mean, just because he was attacked from all sides, from the conservatives, from the moderates, that, you know, here's a man who, even though I have some stark differences of opinion on policy matters, worked, you know, 20-hour days. He was very committed to what he did. He cared about this country, and yet he did so much for his party, but yet here everybody was attacking him. So I felt bad. Is that weird? Are there any other people that probably did not agree with him that felt bad? I don't know. In any case, we will be covering a lot of issues today concerning the shakeup in leadership and other fallout from the election, and as well as other things. But
keeping an eye on what may be transpiring here in the next few hours. And with us on the phone lines, ABC News correspondent Vic Ratner is with us. Vic?
You know, since Nancy's decided to run for Speaker, Ski, how about you? Would you throw your hat in the ring too, please?
I just want to walk around. I want to get a business card that says Minority Whip. I just think that'd be kind of cool. You know, I've got kind of a unique name anyway. Minority Whip after that. That sounds like an album title or something.
But Nancy's right. You know, you do not have to be a member of the House of Representatives to be Speaker.
Now, how did we get to that point? I mean, you would think that if you are going to oversee the elected masses, that you would have to be one of them. But why is that just boggles my mind?
You would think that. That's right. But it's a constitutional thing that says, you don't have to be. Okay. Not that I'm expecting that the next speaker will be John Glenn or anybody else.
Right. Actually, speaking of who might be the next speaker, it's been well, first of all, Vic, let's start from the beginning here. Ski and I, when we started looking at the events of the day, had to look back at this whole year. And I'm sure most of Washington is saying, how could this happen? We had a president who had an affair and lied about it, and, you know, for several months lied to the American people about it, and now Newt Gingrich has his tail between his legs and he's resigning. Is there just basic consternation about how wild a story this is?
This is an incredible story. Think about this year that started with Monica Lewinsky and ends with impeachment hearings and Newt Gingrich resigning. Wow.
I was telling Nancy in the pre-show meeting, Joe Klein never could have wrote this in the primary colors. No one would have believed it. We would have got to the end of that book and gone, oh, come on, Joe, you're kidding me. This can't be.
Nancy, we have to say for Newt Gingrich that he was in trouble long before these elections. You'll remember he was found guilty of ethics violations. He was nearly deposed in another coup effort by his own members last year. There was Republican disenchantment and almost resentment in some sections about the budget deal with the president this time around. So the speaker was already in trouble. Then come the elections, and the Republicans, instead of winning and by the way, Gingrich was saying right up to the end that the Republicans were going to win, suddenly the Republicans lose.
Well, Dick Armey, he was on Nightline or what have you, and he was, at that point, the body was, you could tell that things were not going to go well. He was still professing a 10 to 15 seat gain, and it was in the final 30 seconds it was just amazing. And I'm like, Dick, that's not going to happen. Please, wake up.
So Republican members look around like a football team that's lost 13 straight and says, we got to change something, guys.
Well, Vic, okay, speaking of change here, it seems to me that the problem is this internecine warfare within the Republican Party, where you have the conservatives who probably most wanted Gingrich out and want to install a true conservative in as Speaker of the House. But yet, when you read the election results, most analysts agree that it's the moderate position, the gubernatorial moderates that won, and that's where the party should be going. And we're hearing a lot of names being tossed about for Speaker and other leadership positions. What is going on in terms of this battle over who should take control, the conservatives or the moderates?
We could call it a struggle for the heart and soul of the Republican Party in the Congress. I mean, this will determine which way the GOP goes in the next 2 years leading up to the presidential election. And you bet there's a struggle between the conservatives and the moderates. But the GOP's margin in the House, Nancy, is now so paper thin that even the conservatives recognize they can't do anything if they're divided.
So who's on whose bench? Now, we know Bill Livingston for Speaker is considered a moderate. He's a traditional deal-cutting moderate, and he's received a lot of calls, I know, from governors, moderate governors in Michigan, Engler, the Bush brothers, I understand. So there's some moderates supporting him. Steve Largent, he's a conservative. Is that true? He's a conservative that's the candidate for the Christian Coalition? And
definitely a maverick conservative, but he's running for the number 2 slot.
Number 2 slot.
Then there's Chris Cox from California, who used to work in the Reagan White House, has conservative credentials, is well regarded on both sides. And then there's 4 or 5 more out there in the woodwork who have not yet thrown their hats in the ring. And some of them are maverick conservatives. David McIntosh, for example, Jim Talent. These are names that are not household names, but you'll be hearing a lot more about them in the next few days.
Ski and Skinner at News Talk 89 WLS. We're talking with ABC News correspondent Vic Ratner. Vic, the names thrown out and the things that we know about them so far, we're talking about a bunch of rather telegenic guys, most probably below the age of 50. Is this the youth movement in the Republican Party?
Yeah, there's a generational split in addition to a conservative-moderate split, and the younger Republicans are very anxious to get ahead and not above shoving some of their elders aside in the process.
And how is that, is this something, I mean, we know it needs to be done, or at least I guess I did, and others may doubt that, but is this the kind of thing that they can do now and still put behind them with enough time for these 2000 elections, or is this maybe the groundwork for the next time around after the 2000 elections? I mean, you're in Washington every day. Is there enough momentum for this to go that they can turn it around and get it going in time for 2000?
There are 2 years now between now and the 2000 elections when the GOP does not have a presidential candidate. And the person who's chosen as Speaker is going to be the titular number 1 Republican in the country, in addition to being third in line for the presidency under the Constitution. So whoever gets this job is really a big deal.
Vic, who do you think will prevail, a conservative candidate or a moderate candidate, given that George Bush is the likely Republican presidential candidate and probably has a lot of say in this decision?
You know, Nancy, if you've ever run for president of your student class, I tried once in the 5th grade, you don't always know where the votes are until they come in. And in this case, you've got to say that Livingston, being a long-time head of the Appropriations Committee and a man who knows his way in and out of Congress, has got to be the presumptive front runner, but I wouldn't give it to him off the bat. No way.
Yeah. Okay.
It's very early.
Let's before we let you go, Vic, we want to have a couple other questions. I know there's some other developments in Washington. Henry Hyde has issued 81 questions to President Bill Clinton about, sort of admit or deny everything we've heard in the Starr report. And any word as yet as to whether the president's team intend to answer those question by question or sort of, issue a blanket reply, REC my testimony before the grand jury, or how is that going to play out, those questions?
So far, the sense you get from White House officials is that they are more likely to say, page 2, line 13 in my grand jury testimony, than to tell Henry Hyde anything new. By the way, Nancy, there was something very interesting in the Hyde letter. Hyde said, whatever your answers are, they won't affect whether you'll be open to criminal prosecution for anything later on. Well, Henry Hyde doesn't have the power to say that, and Bill Clinton knows it.
I see. Ken Starr has the power to determine that, perhaps.
You bet.
And will the election results affect the impeachment process here with Henry Hyde? It seems as if not, but realistically it has to, doesn't it?
Realistically, it already has, because Republican leaders read the election results in the polls, and they said the public wants this thing over, and the list of potential witnesses at impeachment hearings suddenly went from 30 or so to 1 or 2.
On a lighter note, with all the athletes and former entertainers being elected now, it's actually getting almost easy for people to want to vote. I mean, with Jesse Ventura in Minnesota now, I mean, the number of voters in the younger demos that came out to the polls, I don't think have been higher in Minnesota, at least not in recent memory. We've got former baseball pitcher Jim Bunning. We've had the history of other representatives throughout. So is this some way, too, where their career politicians maybe don't have the market cornered now? This is the kind of thing, like we've seen in broadcasting for years. You go, you play the game for a while, the next thing you know, you're the broadcaster. It's kind of, you go make a name. Go ahead. We've
got a wrestler, you're right, Jesse the Body Ventura. We've got a batter, Jim Bunning, elected to the Senate. We've got a boxer, Barbara Boxer, re-elected in California. Wonder what's next. Actually, we've got a whole lot of broadcasters in the Congress, both in the Senate and in the House. Should I say something about your... which one of you wants to...
Nancy's running. No way. Not a chance. I just don't have it. I don't want to be elected to anything.
Ski for Congress?
No, it just doesn't have a ring to it. Doesn't have a ring to it. I'll find a position, and then we'll go with that.
All right, Vic, we know you have lots of hunting down potential candidates to do, so we'll let you get back to that. We appreciate you joining us and giving us the latest.
Thanks, Nancy. It's going to be an interesting couple of weeks, isn't it?
It sure will be. We'll be here to cover it for everybody. Thank
you, Vic. We appreciate it. 591-8900, Ski and Skinner at News Talk 89. WLS, Vic Ratner, ABC News correspondent extraordinaire for this fine network, and we appreciate him spending some time with us. 591-8900, we want to get your take on what's been going on throughout the course of the day. We'll give you an update as to who's in and who's out. It's almost like election night all over again as we head to find a new Speaker of the House for the Republican Party. Ski and Skinner, 591-8900 at News Talk 89 WLS. Chicagoland weather. Some clouds today with a high of 45, some snow possible tonight, maybe a 2-inch accumulation. Ew, yuck. Low tonight, 32. Right now, 38 at the lake, 38 at Midway, 37 at O'Hare at News Talk 89 WLS.
And Son, the premier big and tall man specialty store.
Yes, M. Hyman & Son is the premier big and tall men's specialty store. Since 1900, nobody can offer you more of a selection or better values than M. Hyman & Son. Here's a special get-acquainted offer for all big and tall men. Now, for a limited time, M. Hyman & Son will save you 20% off all distinctive men's suits, sports coats, and dress slacks. M. Hyman & Son, 8816 Grosse Pointe Road in Skokie, will save you 20% on all the new arrivals from Talia, Jane Barnes, Terzo Umo, Ruben of Canada, Carelli, plus so many more. M. Hyman & Son, 8816 Grosse Pointe Road at Dempster in Skokie is open every day, including Sunday. Any questions, call 847-581-1800, 581-1800. M. Hyman & Son, the premier big and tall men's specialty store.
M. Hyman & Son, the premier big and tall men's specialty store.
Is hair loss affecting your self-confidence? I'm Brian Reichenberg, the general manager for Kevis. For over 2 years, you've been hearing me tell you how Kevis has given me and thousands of listeners thicker, fuller, healthier-looking hair. Everyone knows there are drugs available for your hair. However, most people are concerned about the side effects and thus don't do anything to help themselves. For those of you who are concerned, you can now use our drug-free formula to improve your hair. Kevis has been clinically tested at leading universities and hospitals throughout Europe. Hundreds of thousands of men and women of all nationalities have used Kevis successfully. Since the U.S. patent was approved, Kevis is your drug-free alternative. Make the decision to do something now. Call 1-800-503-HAIR. Kevis is guaranteed. The only thing you have to lose is more hair. For full details, call 1-800-503-HAIR.
What is the gift that costs nothing yet saves lives? Organ donation. For African Americans, the need for organ donors is greater than ever, but the best results come with organs donated by other African Americans. If someone you love dies, consider organ donation to help others live. For information, call the Regional Organ Bank of Illinois at 312-431-3600. That's 312-431-3600.
Picture a playground filled with 4-year-old children. Picture each face so full of promise. Well, which child deserves to be read to? This one? Or is it that one over there? Which child will get a hot lunch? Who will have a chance to sing? The choice is yours. Volunteer for Head Start. With your help, more low-income preschool children can get what other children already have. Call 1-800-27-START for more information and a brochure on volunteer opportunities with Head Start in your community. Change the world of a child, and you change the world.
Brought to you by Head Start, Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
The Kings of Concussion, Vince and Larry.
If you don't wear your seatbelt and your car rolls, my friend, that's when your headaches begin. When your fragile body flips end over end, that's when your headaches begin. Tell him, Vince.
Now, baby, listen up. Seatbelts are something you can't live without. When that car rolls over, it spits you right out.
Yes, it does. So please wear your seatbelts, 'cause your skull doesn't bend. That's when your headaches begin.
A message from the Department of Transportation and the Ad Council.
Now you have a world of information right at your fingertips. Just call the News Talk 89 WLS info line at 312-577-WLS-AM for information about WLS. So leave your comments for the WLS personalities. To find out about events and appearances, call the News Talk 89 WLS info line at 312-577-WLS-AM. Reach out and touch us. 312-577-WLS-AM.